All right, y'all. First and foremost, give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and his son Hamashiach, who some call Yahweh Shai, Yeshua, Yehoshua, Yashayah. We mostly know as Jesus Christ. I wanted to talk briefly about this climate that we feel during the first century, that we have a social climate around the areas of the text, especially around the areas that Paul is going to establish these churches and going to talk to these Gentiles, whoever you consider these to be, that there's a social climate that would allow a Jew to forget who he was. All right. It's a social climate that would allow a Jew to forget that he was ever a Jew, that his father was a Jew, that his grandfather was a Jew, that his great grandfather was a Jew. And I think the text opposes that. I think the text shows us something completely different, i.e., Acts chapter 2. You have Jews coming from all over the earth, from the four corners of the earth. You have Jews coming from the four corners of the earth to keep Pentecost. And they're all speaking different languages. They all have different tongues. Okay, you have the example, just the fact that you have a Greek Septuagint, that Jews felt like we need a Greek Septuagint for our brothers speaking in Greek. Well, we'll tell you, those in Greek provinces that are speaking the Greek language, let's give them a version of the text. This text wasn't written in 2nd century BC. The text is not being produced to give it to Romans. It's being produced to give it to Jews. Jews are producing it to give it to Jews. All right. Romans are still doing their thing with their deities. But and that's another thing too about how quick this thing got into the hands of the Gentiles, and some of them early schisms that end up happening between the church and Jews. And we'll talk about that later. But even here, we're only going to deal with Acts 17 and 18. We're going to deal with like half of Acts 17, half of Acts 18. And just for us to glean at a couple of things here, to see how this climate was, and how Jews were being navigating, throughout the diaspora, and the fact that a lot of them were living outside of Jerusalem. They didn't want to live there. They didn't want to live in Jerusalem. They wanted to live in heathen societies. But that doesn't mean they didn't want to be a Jew. They was definitely out there, and they were still trying to be, still trying to be Jews. Let me go down here. Mars Hill. Paul stood in the midst of Mars Hill. Man, you may have to start from verse 1, man. Man, we just gonna read verses. We just gonna read chapter 1 and chapter 17, chapter 18, y'all. What else we got going on? What else we got going on this Sunday morning? It says, now when they passed through Amphipolis and Apollonia, they came to Thessalonica, where was a synagogue of the Jews. So we have a synagogue in Thessalonica. This isn't a place. If we're saying it's a synagogue there, then we're saying that how can we say that this is a place that could cultivate one to lose their identity? If we're saying that he's in Thessalonica and there's already a synagogue there. There are synagogues all over the diaspora. Wherever Jews are, they have built themselves a synagogue. A synagogue is not This is not a thing in the Torah. All right, this is something that they've adjusted for those that are in the diaspora, so that they don't have to come down every Shabbat, down to the temple or to just get a lesson. They ain't got to do that. They can discuss and have certain topics. It can be, not just the text, but it can also, handle certain disputes and so forth. Council meetings or whatever. It can be held in the synagogue. These things can be done in the synagogue. We can go over the text in the synagogue. And so these things were built throughout the diaspora. All right. And this, again, this kind of kind of kills the idea that people are out here where they can't keep their culture. And But anyway, and Paul, as his manner was, went in unto them, and 3 Sabbath days responded with them out of the scriptures. All right, Paul goes in there, and this is a place where you can just go in there and you can, just like we have these dialogues, I go live and brothers come in and they want to go back and forth. This is what Paul is doing. This is what Paul is doing, going into these synagogues. All right, opening in the legend that Christ must needs have suffered and risen again from the dead, that this Jesus whom I preach unto you is Christ. All right, he's preaching the gospel of Christ. He's preaching the gospel. And some of them believed and consorted with Paul and Silas, and of the devout Greeks. The devout Greeks, a great multitude. All right, some believe. Who are the some? Went into the synagogue of the Jews. Who are the some? All right, some of them believed and consorted with Paul and Silas, and of the devout Greeks, a great multitude. Who are these devout Greeks? And see, there's a narrative again about if, I think it was in Cornelius where he said, well, he was a devout man, and only the Jews can be devout. Only the Jews can be devout. And, devout is kind of describing this man and, how holy. It's not just like saints and brethren. All right. These words aren't just allotted to Jews. We got to stop that. But we see a devout Greek. That shouldn't exist if we're taking that narrative. A great multitude, and of the chief women. Who are these chief women? Not a few. There's many chief women, many devout Greeks. Who are these people? But the Jews, which believed not, moved with envy, took unto the certain lewd fellows of the baser sort, and gathered a company, and set all the city on an uproar, and assaulted the house of Jason, and sought to bring them out to the people. And when they found them out, they found them not. They drew Jason and certain brethren unto the rulers of the city, crying, these that have turned the world upside down are come hither also. So who are these people crying when they didn't find Jason? These are the unbelieving Jews. Unbelieving Jews have snatched Jason out of his house, looking for Paul and other believers. Believing Jews, devout Greeks, chief women in the city. He's looking for these people. They couldn't find them in even though they done tore up Jason's house. Couldn't find them. They now are crying out to the city officials. What city are we? Are we in Jerusalem? No, we're not in Jerusalem. We're still in Thessalonica. And Jews are crying out because they have certain rights. There's certain ordinances written for how the Jews are to operate among the Jews. And so the Jews are coming and say, hey, man, these folks done turned the world upside down. These folks done caused all kind of problems all over the world with this gospel that they're preaching about this man resurrecting on the third day. Y'all got to do something about these people. Now imagine that. Imagine Jews going to the city officials. It's just like us today. Us going to the officials and saying, you got to do something about these Negroes out here, man. And we'll do it. You got to do something about these Bloods and Crips and these gang members out here just tearing up the community, And we going in the city, but we are taxpayers. We have certain rights. You say, oh, you ain't got no, but we can't call the police. When we call the police, the police slow. Certain neighborhoods faster than other times, but they will show. Okay, you call the fire department, they will come try to put out the fire sometimes, and there's problems with that also, and that, but anyway. Verse 7, it says, whom Jason have received, and these all do contrary to the decrees of Caesar, saying that there is another king, one Jesus. Now, what are these Jews doing? These Jews are appealing to the fact that, he's trying to say that he's Caesar. He's snitching to the authority saying that he's, now does this look like a place that, why would these folks even care? Why would these folks even listen to these people? If there's a climate where one cannot be who they truly want to be, or they can't be who they are. Oh, these are Jews going up to these heathen officials, okay, which is against the text. We know that today, that we should be able to handle these matters ourselves before, but sometimes you can't handle it. Sometimes you got to go to these authorities. We should be able to, but man, we so sick and poison. Sometimes you got to go to the local authorities. Sometimes you can't handle these situations. Sometimes it's not wise to try to handle these situations in the system that we're in now. And they troubled the people and the rulers of the city when they heard these things. All right, and when they had taken security of Jason and the other, they let them go. All right, so they did listen to him and troubled him a little bit. They grabbed Jason them up, and then they let him go. And the brethren immediately sent away Paul and Silas by night unto Berea, who coming thither went into the synagogue of the Jews. Okay, now we in Berea. And where's what Berea has, and it has a synagogue for the Jews. You can't say Berea is a place that doesn't allow Jews or doesn't allow the culture of Israel to be preached. Even in the Acts 15, he told them, hey, after the council, hey, they have Moses in all the synagogues. They already have him there. They have Moses in all of these synagogues being preached every Sabbath. So if you're not keeping the culture, and that's because you don't want to, and you're just choosing not to do it. It ain't that we got this spiritual amnesia. Let me keep on. Who cometh thither went into the synagogue of the Jews. These were more notable than those in Thessalonica. And they were more notable than the Thessalonican Jews that were in that synagogue, in that they received the word with all readiness of mind and searched the scriptures daily, whether those things were so. They didn't just listen to Paul. They searched the scriptures daily to see if these things are so. Does it line up? Does it match up? Does it make sense? I don't care where he came from. We finna check on that. We finna check him. We're not finna just accept it. Therefore, many of them believed also of honorable women, which were Greeks, and of men, not a few. But when the Jews of Thessalonica had knowledge that the word of God was preached of Paul at Berea, they came thither also. They followed them jokers. They in Berea too. Let's head out there. And when they got there, they stirred up the people. Who are the people? All right, he's trying to get those officials in, them soldiers, those government officials. They're following them, and they're preventing them from teaching the gospel. And then immediately the brethren sent away Paul to go, as it were, to the sea by Silas and Timotheus abode there still. But Silas and Timotheus abode there still. They sent Paul by sea. All right, they got Paul up out of there. All right, and again, think about the sea. You know, people getting on boats, trade, certain ports, so forth. And you're going to see that some of these cities were great port cities for one to. That's how people are getting in and out of these things. And these cities, you want to control these cities if you're in power. You have to control these port cities because this is where all the commercial trade is happening. All right, this is how you're getting your taxes, brought in. You have to control these areas. Verse 15, and they conducted Paul, and they that conducted Paul brought him unto Athens, and receiving commandment unto Silas and Timotheus, for to come to him with all speed, they departed. Now, when Paul waited for them at Athens, his spirit was stirred in him when he saw the city wholly given to idolatry. Therefore, disputed he in the synagogue with the Jews and the devout persons. He defeated with the Jews and the devout persons. Who are the devout persons? Who are these devout persons? We got the Jews. Who are the devout persons? And if a brother, with the narrative, if you're trying to say that this is a northern kingdom, why we just can't say he Israel? Why is he a devout person that we can't even name this joker? We can't even name his nationality, his tribe. And so, these are the northern kingdom brothers. These are the lost sheep of the house of Israel. That ain't what he write. And with the devout persons, and in the market daily with them that met with him. Then certain philosophers of the Epicureans. Right? Who are the Epicureans? And the Stoics. Okay, Stoic philosophy. Where that come from? Encountered him, and some said, what will this blabbler say today? Like, what will he say? Others some, he seemeth to be a setter forth of strange gods, because he preached unto them Jesus and the resurrection. What is Paul preaching? What is Paul preaching? What are the disciples preaching? And they took him and brought him unto Areopagus, saying, may we know what this new doctrine whereof thou speakest is. All right, and this Areopagus, if you look at that, you look that up, man, and it's a place where it's a lot of idolatry that allegedly took place, or the story that they tell that some deities were judged at this place. It's almost like a spiritual Sanhedrin of sorts. But y'all look into that. But they're taking him to this actual place to judge his doctrine. All right. Verse 24, thou bringest certain strange things to our ears. We would know, therefore, what these things mean. All right. And they are intrigued. They're not just, it sounds crazy to them, but they are intrigued. These Stoics and Epicureans and Areopagites, or whatever they call Pagites. They're intrigued by this gospel that Paul's preaching. For all the Athenians, watch this. For all the Athenians, who are the Athenians? Who are the Athenians? And strangers, which were there. Who are the strangers which were there? Now, this stranger right here could be an Israelite. All right. He could be a stranger in Athens. All right. He could be a stranger. If you gave me this verse, I say, yeah, but that's a little different. But, that ain't going to prove your point with the strangers. But this could be an Israelite stranger, because he's a stranger from Athens. Just like the strangers of Rome. All right. Strangers of Rome, meaning they are strangers, from Rome. They are in Rome, they're strangers. They're not natives. They're not citizens. They don't live there. For all the Athenians and strangers which were there spent their time in nothing else but either to tell or to hear some new thing. That's all they did. Sit around and just manufacture doctrines, listen to doctrines, debate each other, come up with, we have, it's Clubhouse. it's the ancient Clubhouse of Mars Hill and this area Pegasus area here is like a clubhouse, like the app Clubhouse for those who don't know. But if you go on that app, that is all that's out there is brothers going back and forth and and going at doctrines, and they do it all day, all day. All right. Then Paul stood in the midst of Mars Hill and said, "Ye men of Athens," who are the men of Athens? "I perceive that in all things ye are too superstitious. For as I passed by and beheld your devotions, I found an altar with inscriptions to the unknown God, whom therefore ye ignorantly worship. Him I declare I unto you." I'm going to tell you who that unknown God is in your inscriptions on your altars. "God that made the world and all things therein, seeing that he is Lord of heaven and earth, dwelleth not in temples made with hands. Neither is he worshipped with man's hands, as though he needeth anything, seeing he giveth to all life and breath and all things, and have made of one blood all nations of men for to dwell on all the face of the earth, and have determined the times before appointed and the bounds of their habitation, that they should seek the Lord, if happily they might feel after him, and find him, though he be not far from every one of us. For in him we live and move and have our being, as certain also as your own poets have said, for we are also his offspring. All right, just like your poets had said. But this is almost similar to how Christ was speaking to the Pharisees about the Psalms 82. Don't the Torah say, doesn't the law say ye are gods? And now Paul's using it for Gentiles, saying, don't your poets say? Huh? For we are also, just like your certain also of your own poets have said. For we are we are also his offspring. All right. Appealing to their knowledge that they have already in some of the people that they're reverencing, with their their poetry and some of their Greek philosophers. Verse 29, "For as much then as we are the offspring of God, we ought not to think that the Godhead is like unto gold or silver or stone, graven by art and man's devices." None of these manufactured idols. None of these graven images. In the times of ignorance God winked at, but now commandeth all men everywhere to repent, because he have appointed a day in which he will judge the world in righteousness by that man whom he have ordained, whereof he have given assurance unto all men, and that he have raised him from the dead. He's given assurance by that resurrection. And when they heard of the resurrection of the dead, some mocked, and others said, "We will hear again of this matter." So Paul departed from among them. Howbeit certain men, although Paul left, but howbeit certain men clave unto him, and believed, among which was Dionysius the Areopagite. All right, which is he's part of this little cult basically, and a woman named Damaris, and others with them. All right, are these Israelites? Are these Israelites? Let's go to the next chapter. I thought we can just go over, but nope, that's not letting us do that. All right, hold on. Let me type it in. We almost at chapter 18. Y'all put a 18. Put a 18 in the chat if you still with me. It's only a few of us, y'all. It's only a few of us done made it this far. Put a 18 in the chat if you're still with me. And observe those. Observe those who hit that 18 in there. You know, and you can see, hey, you know what? You know, that brother, you know, these brothers trying to hear. They have that Berea spirit in them. All right. They have the spirit of them Bereans where they kind of looked into that text and they trying to see what is this joker Brother Feeney is trying to say, and I'm going to check him on it. Every word that he's saying, I'm going to check him on it. Acts 18:1, it says, after these things, Paul departed from Athens and came to Corinth and found a certain Jew named Aquila, born in Pontus, lately come from Italy with his wife Priscilla. Okay, now look at this now. He found a certain Jew named Aquila. Aquila was born in Pontus. Where is Pontus? He found a Jew who was born in Pontus. He was not born in Jerusalem. And Paul seen that he was a Jew, even though this individual was born in Pontus. Lately come from Italy. He just came from Italy, man. People are navigating all over the place, man. This is trade. You don't have to drop your flag and drop who you are to navigate within the Roman system. But there are privileges for becoming a Roman citizen. We may not have time to go into that, but y'all know some of the arguments. With Paul talking to the jailer about how he had citizenship, and the jailer trying to mention, like, man, how you get citizenship? Man, I had to work so hard, I had to do this, da 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 da. All right, just a paraphrase for y'all. With his wife Priscilla, because that Claudius had commanded all the Jews to depart from Rome. Claudius Caesar commanded all Jews to get out of Rome. All right. This is a punishment. This is a punishment. He's not telling them, hey, y'all stay here and y'all become Romans. And we gonna no, man, get y'all butt up out of here, man. Y'all causing too much problems. And who is it? Diocletius or Diocletius. He kind of speaks on it briefly, but it's kind of speculation and fluff. But there was a point where Jews were just asking for too much. They wanted to do too much. They were trying to do too much. Probably asking, hey man, well, let us build a temple up here and let us do this and let us do that, and well, we need y'all to do this on the Shabbat, or we need what I'm saying, asking for more rights. And I know it was a point where he was saying that he didn't want the Jews, like, hey man, we done took care of this for y'all, did this for y'all, that's it, don't come over here asking us for nothing else. And then there's also a narrative, of course, of these issues that are going on with the Jews coming to these government officials and complaining about Paul and them and these believing Christians causing problems and saying, hey, you know what? And this is happening in these synagogues. And so it's like, man, you know what? Just shut it down. Y'all get up out of here, man. We don't even want y'all in here. Y'all get up out of here. Go home. Go back home, man. Go home. And that's what I'm saying. Is that a narrative of, well, I don't know who I am? Well, evidently they know. They know who all the Jews are. And they've given the ordinance to get your butt up out of here. All right, and you can look up this Claudius Caesar, and you can see the time frame of when he ruled. See if some of the things that were going on that will make him give this ordinance out. Um, but I wouldn't say it's anything that's just concrete, solid on that. But you can get a time frame and some of the things that were going on again that'll help you with this narrative. Verse 18, and because of and came unto them. And because he was of the same craft, he abode with them and wrought for their occupation. They were tent makers. And he reasoned in the synagogue. Again, now he's in Corinth and he's went to a synagogue. Everybody who wanted to be a Jew, anybody that wanted to keep Torah, anybody that wanted to learn Torah, you have a synagogue that you can go to and you can learn Torah. Okay. And reasoned in the synagogue every Sabbath and persuaded the Jews and the Greeks. All right. Persuaded the Jews and the Greeks. And when Silas and Timotheus were come from Macedonia, Paul was pressed in the spirit and testified to the Jews that Jesus was Christ. And when they opposed themselves and blasphemed, he shook his raiment. All right. He shook his raiment and said unto them, your blood be upon your own heads. And, you know, this is what was said when they, when we decided to murder Christ, when we decided to you know, that he should be crucified, we did make that statement. Hey, man, let that blood be upon us, you know. And some people spin that spiritually. Yeah, where the blood gonna cover us. That's what we were saying. The blood cover us. You know, I'm not here to argue. But this blood be upon your own heads is that ain't what he's talking about. It's not a good thing. Like, it's not a good thing. You blaspheme the Holy Spirit. You know, you're blaspheming the Lord when you're not accepting the gospel of Christ. He says, I am clean. From henceforth I will go unto the Gentiles. Okay. From henceforth, going to the Gentiles. And he departed thence and entered into a certain man's house and named Justus, one that worshiped God, whose house joined hard to the synagogue. And Crispus, the chief ruler of the synagogue, believed on the Lord with all his house. And many of the Corinthians hearing believed. Who are the Corinthians? You had Crispus, the ruler and the believer of the house. You got the Jews, and then you got the Corinthians. Hearing believed and were baptized. Then spake the Lord to Paul in the night by a vision. Be not afraid, but speak, and hold not thy peace. For I am with thee, and no man shall set thee to set on thee to hurt thee. For I have much people in this city. Now, I'm gonna tell you sometimes too, and this is just a little thing here that, you know, and that you may get puffed up out there, you know, teaching on the streets, and danger may be in front of you. All right. And, you know, you got to be wise. You got to use wisdom. Will the Lord protect you? Yeah, the Lord will protect you. But at the same time, brothers have gotten shot out there on these street corners teaching the word, man. People have had guns drawn on them. People have had rocks thrown at them. People have looked down the barrel of pistols. People have been threatened. People have gotten into altercations and fighting out there on the street corners. That has happened. That will continue to happen. But my point in this is that should we take a verse, and this is just methodology. This is just looking at certain methodology. We can pull this verse and say, you know, be not afraid, speak and hold not thy peace. Don't shut up. You know, police out there, they finna get ready to lock y'all. Don't hold your peace. They ain't gonna be able to, you know, they won't hurt you. All right. It says, for I am with thee, and for as much, for I have much people in this city. Now, this was a Paul This was a vision given to Paul. This is a message directly to Paul. How much should we put that and take that and apply that same message to us? Do we take it with the same confidence that when Paul received it? And that's how we have to, when we're gleaning from the text, yeah, we can use that, like, especially if you done got out of that thing and that thing that came out, say, man, and you didn't hold your peace and then you can quote the verse, be like, hold not your peace, the Lord is with you, and you can, yeah. But again, how much confidence do we put in that? Seeing that this is what Paul, this is a message from Paul, but I'm just showing you just, how we be taking the text sometimes and using certain things. There's a certain context that this message was given in. We can apply it to modern day, but we do have to realize that we're applying it to modern day. We're applying it to ourselves. And, we use wisdom in some of these situations. But and every man don't have the same measure of faith. So you may have the faith and that bullet may go by you, but it may hit your brother. Let me continue on. And he continued there 1 year and 6 months, teaching the word of God among them. And that's the ultimate thing about it. That's what comes out of this. He was there. He didn't stop teaching there. He kept teaching there 1 year and 6 months. And when Gallio was the deputy of Achaia, the Jews made insurrection with one accord against Paul and brought him to the judgment seat. Again, this is the same thing over and over again. Every city they go to, there are Jews following behind, trying to persecute Paul and them. And what are they doing? They're bringing them to the city officials. They're bringing them to the Greeks and the Romans, saying, hey, so-and-so did this and so-and-so is over there doing this. Saying the fellow persuade of men to worship God contrary to the law. All right. Saying this fellow persuade of men to worship God contrary to the law. So what is the law? And when Paul was now about to open his mouth, Gallio said unto the Jews, if it were a matter of wrong or wicked lewdness, O ye Jews, reason would that I should bear with you. But if it's a question of words and names and of your law, look ye to it, for I will be no judge of such matters. Look at what's going on now. Y'all want me? I ain't defending sit here and debate your law. Whatever y'all law is, you saying he's speaking some country, man, that's y'all law. Do what y'all gonna do with y'all. That's y'all thing. Ain't got nothing to do with me and what we doing out here. You talking about names and words and all of that foolishness. We talk if it's some wickedness and they out here causing trouble and killing people and raping women, raping women, then yeah, I judge that matter. But don't bring me no matter that's contrary to the law. That's y'all law. Keep your law. Leave us up out of that trash. You keep your law, man. And y'all handle that. Don't bring that foolishness to me. And he drave them from the judgment seat. Man, y'all get up out of here, man. Then all the Greeks took Sothenes, the chief ruler of the synagogue, and beat him before the judgment seat, and Gallio cared for none of those things. Then all the Greeks took Sosthenes, the chief ruler of the synagogue, and beat him before the judgment seat, and Gallio cared for none of those things. So here it seems that the Greeks, they done pulled, they salty. They done pulled this man out the darn synagogue and beat him. And Gallio say, yeah, man, y'all doing what y'all doing. I ain't got nothing to do with that. And Paul after this tarried there yet a good while, and then took his leave of the brethren and said, hold on one second. Let me just make sure, y'all. Let me look. and may see what we looking at here. Cause it seems like after they kicked those people out, that some of these believers pretty much beat the darn chief of the darn synagogue. Let me make sure if that's what that's saying there. He says the crowd then grabbed Sosthenes, the leader of the synagogue, and beat him right in there in the courtroom. But Gallio paid no attention. Yeah, that's it. Them believers took him and beat that joker, man, who tried to bring up those charges. He went in there, brought up those charges, them jokers saw slapping that joker around because of that, man. Getting tired of it. What else we doing here? Verse 18. And Paul, after this, tarried there yet a good while, and then took his leave of the brethren and sailed thence into Syria. All right, then he sailed into Syria, and he was just in Pontus, and Pontus is right there on the Black Sea. Pontus is right there, and we got to start looking at geography. We got to start looking at biblical maps showing what some of these cities are. But Pontus, again, commercial city, right there on the darn the Black Sea. He's headed now. He's finna head to where is he going? Syria, into Assyria. He sailed thence into Syria, and with him Priscilla and Aquila, having shorn his head in Centuria, for he had a vow. And he came to Ephesus and left them there. But he himself entered into the synagogue and reasoned with the Jews. And when they desired him to tarry longer time with him, he consented not, but bade them farewell, saying, I must by all means keep the feast that cometh in Jerusalem. But I will return again unto you, if God will. And he sailed from Ephesus. And when he had landed at Caesarea, he sailed from Ephesus. He landed at Caesarea. Caesarea is also a major port city controlled by Rome. Brothers be like, hey man, Caesarea was in it. No, it was not. It's not Israel. Caesarea is not Israel. That is a Roman province built by Herod. It's I think it has like these ports, man. Y'all look into Caesarea. But I want to say I remember it having this long port. It was one of the first places that had like Herod built like this not cement, but he built it out of bricks that this thing goes all the way like into the sea, deep into the sea area. And it almost had like parking lot for boats to come in. And it was just a marvel. A lot of that stuff underwater now, but you can still see it. You can't see as far as it goes out because a lot of it has gone underwater. But he had a stone docking system there that he put into place. And again, because this is a major port hub, open market port hub, a lot of business going on, a lot of money being made. But anyway, Ephesus. He left Ephesus and he sailed and he landed into Caesarea. And going up and saluted the church, he went down to Antioch. And after he had spent some time there, he departed and went over all the country of Galatia and Phrygia, in order, strengthening all his disciples. And a certain man named Apollos, born at Alexandria. Okay, he done met Apollos. Where's Apollos from? Apollos was born in Alexandria. Alexandria also is a port hub at the top, the very top of Egypt. All right, the very top city of Egypt. I have a video clip I'm gonna show y'all right after this. And it's just giving a little information, but you can look at those. There's a lot of information on those Alexandrian Jews. Even some papyri that we can glean from. But yeah, it's a lot of information on the Alexandrian Jews and how they were operating, how the city was divided into 4 quarters. and the reasonings behind so forth and all that stuff. But I'll show you a clip video. It's not going to be a lot of information, but you can just look into that. But Apollos was born there. Apollos not know who he was, being so far from Israel, being, at the very top of North Africa. He was an eloquent man and mighty in the scriptures. He came to Ephesus. All right. Apollos, eloquent man, mighty in the scriptures. Okay. Even though he was born in Alexandria. This man was instructed in the way of the Lord, and being fervent in the spirit, he spake and taught diligently the things of the Lord, knowing only the baptism of John. And he began to speak boldly in the synagogue, whom when Aquila and Priscilla had heard, they took him unto them and expounded unto him the way of God more perfectly. And when he was disposed to pass into Achaia, the brethren wrote, exhorting the disciples to receive him, who, when he was come, helped them much which had believed through grace. For he mightily convinced the Jews, and that publicly, showing the scriptures that Jesus was Christ. Okay, this man who was born in Alexandria. Let me stop sharing my screen here. And I want to go to a media source, but I don't know if I have the media source, if I have downloaded that media source. And I have not. Hold on one second, my good people. Hold on. Give me 1 second here. And we're going to pull up this source because I did send it to myself. We did send it to ourselves. And we'll go back here. And we will load this media source in. Right here.
Largest city on the Mediterranean.
Hold on, let me flip it. We're going to have to flip it. I don't know how. Is that the way? Yeah, that's the way. 1 second, y'all. Bear with me. Those that made it this far. And see, we went through 2 chapters real quick, under an hour. Breaking it down and all that whole nine. Just looking at these chapters. I guess I'll make my picture a little bigger. And let me transition in. Okay. And let me see if it'll play media source.
Now hosts a vibrant population of largest city on the Mediterranean. It now hosts a vibrant population of 5.2 million occupants. But this foreign metropolis was never considered a part of Kemet. Since all of the major settlements in Kemet were formed exclusively along the banks of the Nile, firmly on the African continent, the city was somewhat of an outlier. Alexander the Great entered Egypt in 332 BC. He founded Alexandria, far away from the Egyptian.
Look where it's at. Alexandria is right there on that Mediterranean. Port hub. Okay, right there on that Mediterranean right there. And it kind of goes into that Nile Delta and flows into that and will flow down. So you can stop here at that Alexandria, and then you can flow down. You got 3 little areas, 3 different little rivers. Well, you got 2 definitely. Well, they running into each other. So then you can flow that stuff down through those Egypt cities and on down, down the Nile. If you needed to, or you can take the Mediterranean Sea and go across into some of these, Macedonia and Asia Minor and all of that. But this is why they wanted control of Alexandria. Alexandria is not Egypt. It's not Egypt. Let me go back.
332 BC, he founded Alexandria, far away from the Egyptian population. Officially described as being ad Egyptum, or not in Egypt, it was
They said it had a nickname called Adhijam or something like that. Not Egypt. They telling you this is not Egypt, brother.
Seen as a foreign intrusion into an alien country. The population, made up of Greek-speaking Judaic.
The population made up of what?
The population, made up of Greek-speaking Judaic garrison and
Greek-speaking Judea garrisons bases. All right. Greeks had a little, you know, they were moving and shaking in there also. And again, you all the way at the top of North Africa, and you have these things in place. You know, is this a place where someone can just not know that they're a Jew or not know that they're Israelite?
The population, made up of Greek-speaking Judaic garrison and Greeks, ballooned to over 1 million by the
Greek-speaking Jews and Greeks. This is what's in Alexandria.
end of the Ptolemaic era in 30 BC, remaining a strategic and commercial hub for every occupying force originating from the Mediterranean.
And this is why you see the prologue in the book of Sirach. He's going to Alexandria so he can this is where he's rewriting Sirach or Ecclesiasticus. He's writing it in Greek. Why? There's millions of Greeks in Alexandria that he can pass this thing out to, that can receive this information. All right. And he's telling you who's in rulership when he does it to give you the time frame of exactly when he went over there and did that. The information's there. This thing is Ecclesiasticus ain't some 5th, 6th century. Come on, y'all. Let me pull it back just a little more.
Era in 30 BC, remaining a strategic and commercial hub for every occupying force originating.
And then look at that map. All right, look what it connects to. Look how much of that's connected there that you can get through to from Alexandria here. You know, look at the routes taken. Boom, 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 boom. Money, 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 money. Money. Taxes. Need to be able to navigate. These the highways. All right, and if you got control of the roads, you got control of the navigational ports and all of that, man. You got control of the railroads. You know, you making a guap.
Occupying force originating from the Mediterranean since. As a result, its population reflects the culturally diverse nature of the surrounding region. However,
and because of all the commercial and all of the trade, these people look very diverse.
In the case of antiquity, one must remember that Alexandria was regarded as being not in Egypt.
All right, it's not Egypt. All right, y'all, that's it. Pray this thing was edifying. Y'all be blessed. We'll see y'all on the next one. Shalom.